Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HackFS 2024 ChainSafe workshop, How to Extend the ChainSafe Web3 Unity SDK. Joining us today is Jay Albert and Nikola Garabandic, who will be taking us through this session. And with that, I'll pass it over to Jay and Nikola to get this session started.
Thanks. So as Rory just mentioned, we'll be over extending our SDK. For anyone who's not familiar with ChainSafe, we're a research and development firm focused on protocol level research. Our most notable achievements include moving Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake, writing the code behind Avalanche C chain, and the Filecoin virtual machine. Amongst many things that we also offer Web3 development tools, which includes our Web3 Unity SDK and Web3.js. So today, Nikola will be going over our Web3 Unity SDK and how you can get started with extending it. So with that said, I'll pass it over to Nikola for the presentation.
Thank you, Jay. Let me just quickly then share my screen. Hey, everyone. I'm Nikola Garabandic. I am a gaming engineering team lead, and I'll be showing you how to extend easily the ChainSafe SDK. So the first question, I guess, is the SDK really that extendable? And the answer to that is absolutely yes, because this is possible due to the way we rebuilt the version 2.5 from the ground up, where we are heavily relying on dependency injection for building all of the core SDK functionality. There are two main ways that you can extend our SDK, and I'll be showcasing the first one in this demo. The first one is make a new Unity package that has a dependency of the web3.unity SDK package. And you should use this approach when the functionality itself is just a nice addition to the SDK and it isn't a must-have. And when the third-party provider has a Unity SDK and you just want to make a wrapper for it that utilizes web3.unity. Examples include that we already built our Web3 auth, loot boxes, and ramp. Ramp is maybe kind of different because we had to make wrappers for all of the native platforms that they have built, and we had to make a C# wrapper that communicates with the native code. But that's a topic for another session, maybe. The second way of extending the SDK is to make a new project directly inside of the ChainSafe.gaming solution. What is that? I'll come to that in the demo. And you should use this approach when it's a feature we've completely missed when developing the core solution, and when it's a common feature for more than one single platform or engine, like if you want to port this to use in Unity, Unreal, or Godot, you are free to update our ChainSafe.gaming solution. There are several rules of thumb that you should follow, but I guess this is not going to be super clear now, but more clear after demo. Essentially, you should always create the interface first, then the concrete type you are implementing, and that is very important for the dependency injection itself. Implementing iLifecycle participant interface, especially if there are some things you need to do when the Web3 instance gets initialized or destroyed, like in case of logging out. For example, you want to close the connection to an API that you're listening to or save the file you were reading from and stuff like that. You should implement the iSigner, or not implement, but use in your constructor iSigner and iTransaction executor to sign messages and send transactions. And you should use extension methods to use features when exporting the solution. Now, this all sounds, I guess, kind of abstract. So let's go to the demo and see how we should actually do stuff like there. The first thing that I'm going to do is go to code and download the zip. What I would actually suggest, if you're actually going to make the real contribution and not the demo stuff, I suggest you to fork our branch. I would suggest even to fork the dev branch, because that one is up to date with most of the development things we've been working on, including updating to the latest Unity version that is 2022.3.26. But let's say that you just want to download the zip and follow along. You can start the download. I already have it downloaded. And let me just quickly show it. So in here, we have Web3 Unity main. And this is the folder structure. We have this chainsafe.gaming solution. This solution is the core solution that contains all of the basic functionality the Web3 Unity SDK has, like signing transactions, sending transactions, contracts, all of that stuff. And I'm not going to go over how to create a new project here because it takes way more time than doing it for Unity. And I guess most of you are probably going to do it for extending the SDK in terms of like adding new, I don't know, new provider for signing or something like that. So that's where you can just use the Unity, where you can extend Unity itself. And here you can see that in the SRC folder, we have the Unity sample project, but that is still not where our project is. This is just to show you where the main solution is and where you should find the Unity sample project that is going to be opened. And let's go back to Web3 Unity main. And in the packages folder, we have the things that we were looking for. We have the io.chainsafe.web3-unity. That's our core solution. All of these solutions are plugins. And let me just quickly show you how they look. For example, Web3 Auth has editor, runtime, and samples with tilde, because tilde here means that samples are not imported. And in the package.json, you are actually saying where your samples are, and you can import them after you import your package. Now let's quickly, for example, extend or create a new project for example, mud. The way we advise you to do it, I am copy pasting it here just for the faster demo execution. We don't need samples for this specific demo. We need to delete from runtime everything. And in the package.json, we are not going to call this either ChainSafe Unity ramp. We're going to call it mud. We're going to call this mud. The description here can be also mud. The dependencies themselves can be ChainSafe 2.5.5. Samples, we don't need samples per se, so let's just make it like this. And you should be able then to open your Unity sample project, but because I already have it open, and it takes a lot of time to initialize it, I am here with the Unity sample project open. And now what we need to do is we need to add our mud folder or package that we have just created. And we're going to click on plus and add package script from the disk, sorry. And as you can see, it's here, Web3 Unity SDK mud. And important thing that needs to be addressed here is to go back to the SRC Unity sample project, and you need to go to packages, manifest.json, because as you can see in the manifest.json, it's getting the actual absolute path and not the relative path that all the other packages are using. So that's why we need to literally just do this, and it should be reading everything correctly. Once again, 1 second. Yes. And now we have successfully integrated a new package into the project. Now let's go to create and create an assembly definition, because that's a good practice to do. And we're going to call it chainsafe.gaming.web3-unity.mud. The name should be this as well. And the root namespace should be chainsafe.gaming.mud. So every script that we are going to create now is going to utilize that namespace. So the thing is that we need to create 4 different scripts. The first one is going to be called imud, and that represents the interface. The second one is going to be called just mud. Third one is going to be called mud extensions. And the last one is going to be called mud service adapter. So if we go back to the presentation itself, we can see that we always need to create the interface first, and then the concrete type that you are implementing, and that is important for the dependency injection. And that is what we are going to do here exactly. So we are going to change this from class to an interface. And let's, for example, add a method called test method, and that's it. In the mud class itself, we're not going to extend from mono behavior. We're just going to implement the imud interface. Now comes the fun part, and that is how we are going to integrate mud into the Web3 Unity solution itself. We're going to make a static class. It's going to be called mud extensions. Let's go back here and say static. And this class should have 2 methods. The first one indicates that we need to use mud in the project, and the second one is going to be the one that is actually getting the mud instance from the service provider. The way we are doing this is public static Web3 service collection, or let me just say i3 service collection, use mud, and this is going to be I Web3 service collection. And this is going to return Web3 service collection. But before that, we are going to add a singleton of type imud, and it's going to be mud. But we forgot one thing, and that is to implement, for example, this iLifecycle participant interface in here. And these are especially useful for, as we already mentioned, starting some processes or and closing connections for stopping when stopping. And here we need to implement both of these participants. And that way we have injected mud into our SDK. But now we need to somehow retrieve mud from this service collection. And that is this Web3, we need to use the ChainSafe.gaming.web3 instance. And we are just going to return web3.serviceprovider.get required service. And it's going to be of type IMUD. And that's basically it. That is I think it's pretty easy and straightforward. I mean, it's for the first time, it's kind of difficult to wrap your head around it. But there is also one last thing to be done here, or two things actually. The first thing that we need to do is to call these extension methods. And the way we have done it here at ChainSafe is this service adapter essentially is used to inject. Let me just go back to the login scene so that you can see what I'm talking about. So in order for you to customize all of the components or services that you want to use, we've done something like here in the ramp service adapter. Essentially, we created this interface, iWeb3 Builder Service Adapter, and that we are going to implement here as well. And MUD service adapt. Once we add MUD service adapter here, it needs to be added to the login provider, because login provider gets all the components for that implement this iWeb3 Builder service adapter, iterates through them, and then configures what these methods said that need to be configured. Here, let's just quickly return the Web3 builder. But now let's actually inject MUD. So Web3 builder.configure, and this takes a lambda expression, and lambda expression is x that use MUD, and that gives us our MUD inside of the project. And that should be it for when we are injecting things, like when we are wanting to inject certain services into the project. But the other thing that we need to do is that we need to go into Web3 Unity samples. And in here, we need to add the MUD assembly in order to utilize all of the stuff that we have written in that package. So for example, in the sample main scene, we have SDK calls, and we have this ERC20 call. And let's say that in the balance of, we just want to call the method from MUD. I mean, it's not the place where you would actually call something MUD related, but we are just doing this to demonstrate it. And we are going to call web3.mud. And as you can see, you have this using ChainSafe.gaming.mud. And we are going to call the test method. And let's just maybe print out something in the test method. For example, debug.log hello from ChainSafe's mud. And let's try to log in with Web3 auth. And to see if this is actually working. And as you can see, if we click on balance up, we get hello from ChainSafe SMUD, and we can start expanding our SDK. And that should be it. Jay, stage is yours.
Thank you, Nikola, for the presentation and how to extend our SDK. At this time, I want to give people some ideas. You know how to do this, but what are you going to build? So I'll start sharing my screen. And you should be able to see my slides here. So what extensions can I build? First is third-party integrations. We went over how to extend it with MUD, and we've used the same process to extend our SDK with RAMP, with Web3 Auth, and tons of other tools. So if I was a hacker in this hackathon this week, what I would be doing is looking at the tools that are already partners and figuring out how can I integrate those tools with the Unity SDK. And the reason why is because you can submit the same code base to multiple prizes. So by working with several partners, you increase your chances of winning a prize. So we have a few listed here. Generative NFTs with LilyPad. LilyPad is a decentralized compute network. They have a module for stable diffusion. So you could do something like generating profile pictures for a game, minting them directly in the game, and allowing your players to use it. Player IDs with ENS. If you're, let's say, playing a game where there's a lot of resource management, maybe you want to see how someone does with their actual finances, and you could see their ENS ID, look at their portfolio and see what they were doing, and kind of use that to draft your teams in a video game. AI agents with KubeHive. There's plenty of games that are springing up where you just tell AI agents what to do, and it kind of simulates the environment, whether that's like a war game and you're a general, or maybe just another resource management game. And of course, as we mentioned earlier today, updating our SDK with MUD. If there's other frameworks out there that can be used with our SDK, we'd love to see that. In addition to extending it with third-party applications, you could also use prefab scripts. So if there's a smart contract that's out there for, let's say, wagers or tournaments, you can create a prefab script that interacts with those smart contracts and allow other players to actually use that in their video games as well. So think about common Web3 gameplay mechanics and figure out how to add that into our SDK. Besides our extension prize, we're also offering 2 additional prizes that you can look into. So the first is the Marketplace Toolkit. If you have a video game already and you use NFTs and you want to figure out how to trade them, but you don't want to use something like OpenSea, then take a look at our Marketplace Toolkit. There you can easily build a marketplace using our dashboard and incorporate it directly into your Unity game with a few clicks. So reach out to us if you want to learn more about that. And lastly, we have our on-chain loot boxes. So they're fully decentralized on-chain loot boxes that uses Chainlink's VRF to generate random numbers. And that ensures transparency because your players can see what numbers are being generated. And it also ensures that it's verifiably random. So check out our on-chain loot boxes, our marketplaces, and look to extend our SDK. Nikola and I will be in the chats. So if you have any questions, things you want to discuss, feel free to reach out to us. And if you want to learn more about ChainSafe, go to gaming.chainsafe.io or follow us on Twitter at ChainSafeETH and join our Discord at ChainSafe. Thank you. This is Jay from ChainSafe Gaming, and thank you for the presentation, Nikola.
Awesome. Cheers. Thank y'all both. Yeah. Are there any questions for Nikola or Jay? Sergey, if you're talking, you're muted.
What's up, Rory?
Hey,
Hey, Nikola.
how's
Hey,
it going?
Jay. I was actually at the ChainSafe meetup last week for the base presentation. So if you're in Toronto there, I think that's the office window. But I had a quick question around if you guys support spatial, which is like the web. Um, you can do Unity projects and then export them to web. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
Can you send the toolkit.spatial.io?
So the thing with them is they need to support a specific version of Unity, which is 2021 something something, which is a little bit, I guess, predated. I don't know which Unity versions.
Yeah, we are in
ChainSafe.
2021, but we are literally updating soon to 2022. This is something interesting. We do not officially support this, but this seems like a pretty interesting thing. Like, is it blockchain backed by blockchain, or what? What is this? Is it like a multiplayer framework? What I'm not.
So this is not blockchain related. We're trying to build. So we're trying to build a game that's gonna have Web3 components to it. But the idea with Spatial is that you can play it in the browser instead of having to like have the game be published on like the Quest or whatever. So if you go to spatial.io, they have a bunch of games that are built with Unity but published to Spatial, which you can just play right in the browser. So this is kind of like enabling people to play Unity developed games in an
So
environment
it's
that isn't.
similar to itch, basically.
No idea what that is.
Oh,
I'm
it
exploring the space completely. Like I'm very brand new to all of this, but I thought for a hackathon it would be cool to dive into this. Um, itch.io.
I mean, I can say that we do support Spatial because, I mean, there's no reason why we wouldn't. If they have their own toolkits, we are not clashing with them in any way.
Right. It's just, I guess, a matter of versions because I think I was checking for Mona and their support is only like 2022 and above. So I don't know
Our
if I would be
current
able to.
version supports 2021.3 and WebGL with no like.
Cool. Okay.
So you,
Yeah. So I guess either completely like integrating this and working with it, or setting up a like a bridge, I guess, for ChainSafe to like, I guess, an extension of sorts. But yeah,
yeah,
cool. That's it.
thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Cool. Any other questions? And if not, then as Nikola and Jay said, you can always find them on the partner Discord channel. They'll be there to help answer any questions that you may have. But yeah, thank you. Thanks again, Nikola and Jay, for the great workshop and presentation. This will be, again, posted on YouTube right after this. And yeah, hopefully everyone has a great rest of their week. So happy hacking. We'll see y'all here in a little bit for another workshop. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.